The Correct Way to Talk to God. Do Not Make This Mistake, by Earl Nightingale. Lesson 1. The Greatest Secret. Our Thoughts Shape Our Reality. Good morning. I want to share with you today what may be the most important discovery in the field of human achievement and spiritual connection. This discovery is so profound, yet so simple, that you might wonder why you haven't been applying it all along. Here it is. We become what we think about. That's right. Our thoughts, persistently held in mind, gradually transform into reality, and this law works with mathematical precision in every area of your life, including your relationship with God. Most people fail in their attempts to communicate with their Creator for one simple reason. They don't understand that prayer begins long before they kneel or speak a word. Prayer begins with the thoughts you carry throughout your ordinary day. Consider the man who spends his day worried about bills, angry at his neighbor, or consumed with doubt, then attempts to pray at night with words of faith and trust. His prayers seem hollow because they contradict the thought patterns he's maintained all day long. You see, your mind is like a garden. The thoughts you plant and nurture will inevitably grow into the experiences of your life. This is not mere philosophy. It's the operating system of our universe, the law of cause and effect working in the realm of consciousness. I discovered this truth not through my own wisdom, but through studying the great teachings across time. From the ancient wisdom of Solomon, who wrote, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he," to the words of Jesus, who taught that faith, even the size of a mustard seed, could move mountains. The message has always been clear. Your thoughts are the seeds of your prayers, and God responds not just to your words, but to the persistent pattern of your thinking. Let me offer you a simple exercise to begin transforming your prayer life. For 1 week, carry a small notebook with you. Whenever you notice yourself thinking about a problem, a fear, or a worry, write it down. Don't judge it, simply observe it. At the end of each day, review your notes and ask yourself, are these the thoughts I want to become my reality? Then, consciously choose new thoughts, aligned with what you truly desire. If you've been thinking, "I never have enough," replace it with, "I am grateful for God's abundant provision." If your mind has been repeating, "Nobody cares about me," plant instead, "I am deeply loved by God and others." This simple practice begins to harmonize your daily thinking with your prayers. When your thoughts and your prayers align, you'll experience what I call the strangest secret in action. The transformation of your inner world reflected in your outer circumstances. Remember, prayer is not something you do for 15 minutes before bed. True prayer is the conversation you maintain with life itself through your moment-by-moment thoughts. Master your thinking, and you master the first secret of effective prayer. Start today. Your thoughts are shaping your future and your relationship with God right now. What seeds are you planting in the garden of your mind? Lesson 2. The Trap of Empty Words. I want to talk to you today about something that millions of good people do every day without realizing the mistake they're making. They speak words of prayer. Beautiful words, traditional words, words handed down through generations, yet they feel nothing change in their lives. They've fallen into the trap of empty words. You see, prayer without purpose is like a letter without an address. It may contain the most beautiful sentiments in the world, but it will never reach its destination. When we recite prayers by rote, when our lips move but our minds wander, when we speak without truly engaging our hearts, we're simply making noise in the universe. The critical difference between mere recitation and genuine communication is intention. When you truly communicate with God, you aren't performing a ritual. You're engaging in a relationship. Think about how you speak to someone you deeply care about. You choose your words carefully. You mean what you say. You mean what you say. You focus your full attention on the conversation. Prayer deserves this same quality of attention. How can you tell if you're simply going through the motions? Ask yourself, do I remember what I prayed about yesterday? Do I feel a sense of connection during prayer? Or am I just checking a box? Do I rush through familiar words to get to the end? These are signs that you've fallen into the trap. Throughout history, The most transformative prayers weren't elaborate or sophisticated. They were purposeful. Consider Abraham Lincoln, during the darkest days of the Civil War, retreating to pray with singular focus for guidance. Or Mother Teresa, whose simple, direct communications with God fueled decades of service. Their prayers weren't performances. They were purposeful conversations. They were purposeful conversation. The quiet power of intention cuts through the noise of empty words. When you pray with clear purpose, even the simplest "help me" carries more weight than the most eloquent speech delivered without heart. God responds to the intention behind your words, not the words themselves. I want you to try something. Before your next prayer, pause for 30 seconds. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to communicate? What is the purpose of this conversation? This simple act of preparation will transform your prayer experience. Remember, God doesn't need your words. He already knows your thoughts. Prayer isn't for His benefit. It's for yours. It's for yours. It's the means by which you align yourself with divine purpose and open yourself to guidance. The most powerful prayer is the one offered with clear intention, focused attention, and genuine emotion. Don't let habit rob you of this profound connection. Break free from empty recitations. Speak to God as you would to your wisest, most loving friend, with purpose, with honesty, with your complete self. This is the foundation of effective prayer, not the words you choose, but the intention with which you offer them. Master this distinction, and you'll never again waste your precious spiritual energy on words that fall flat. Lesson 3. The quiet mind, creating space for divine connection. Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. What I'm about to share with you may well be the missing piece in your conversations with God. You see, in our busy world full of distractions, our minds have become like overcrowded rooms where we can barely hear ourselves think, let alone hear the voice of God. A cluttered mind is perhaps the greatest obstacle to meaningful prayer. When your thoughts are racing, jumping from work problems to family, concerns to that argument you had yesterday, how can you possibly create space for divine wisdom to enter? It's like trying to hear a whisper in a noisy factory. I learned this truth many years ago during a particularly challenging time in my life. I was praying regularly but feeling no connection, receiving no guidance. Then one morning, I simply sat in silence for 10 minutes before beginning my prayer. The difference was immediate and profound. By clearing the mental stage first, I had created room for God's presence. The mind, you see, is like soil. Farmers know that before planting seeds, the ground must be properly prepared. Would you throw precious seeds onto hard, cluttered ground? Of course not. Yet this is precisely what we do when we approach prayer with minds full of worries, distractions, and mental noise. Here's a simple practice I recommend. Before you pray, take 5 minutes to simply breathe and release thoughts. Don't fight your thoughts. That only creates more mental activity. Instead, acknowledge each thought as it comes, then gently let it float away like leaves on a stream. This isn't meditation as Eastern traditions teach it. This is simply creating mental space for divine connection. Another effective technique is what I call thought parking. Before prayer, take a notepad and write down any pressing concerns or ideas that might interrupt your conversation with God. By putting them on paper, you're telling your mind, I see you, and I'll come back to you later. Your mind can then relax its grip on these thoughts. The power of silence cannot be overstated. In my experience, the most profound spiritual insights don't come amid mental chaos, but in moments of mental stillness. Remember the biblical wisdom. Be still and know that I am God. This isn't merely poetic language. It's practical instruction. Try this daily practice. Set aside 5 minutes each morning for what I call mental clearing. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus only on your breathing. When thoughts intrude, don't become frustrated. Simply notice them and return to your breath. This simple exercise, practiced consistently, will dramatically transform your prayer life. The quiet mind becomes receptive to divine wisdom in ways that the noisy mind cannot comprehend. By creating mental stillness before prayer, You're not just talking to God more effectively. You're creating the conditions where you can finally hear God's response. And friends, that response is what we've been seeking all along. Lesson 4. Ask correctly. The language of faith. My good friend, welcome to this vital chapter where we'll discover the art of asking correctly in prayer. Just as a skilled carpenter wouldn't approach their craft without understanding their tools, we must approach our conversations with God using the proper language of faith. Most people approach prayer with uncertainty, their voices tinged with doubt. God, if it's possible, could you maybe help me with this problem? Such language reveals what's truly in our hearts: uncertainty, hesitation, and a fundamental disbelief in the divine order of things. This is the mistake that keeps countless prayers from being fulfilled. The specific formula for effective prayer is surprisingly simple, yet profoundly powerful. When you approach God, you must speak in the present tense, as though what you're asking for has already been received. This isn't mere positive thinking. It's aligning yourself with the timeless nature of the divine. Instead of saying, "Please help me find a better job," the language of faith proclaims, "I am grateful for the perfect job that uses my talents and provides for my needs." Notice the difference. One begs from a position of lack. The other acknowledges from a position of completion. This principle operates on both psychological and spiritual levels. When you frame your requests in the present tense with gratitude, you program your subconscious mind to recognize and act upon opportunities aligned with your prayer. Simultaneously, you demonstrate faith that the universal intelligence has already answered your call. Words carry energy, and the words you choose determine the results you receive. Consider how these phrases feel different. "I hope my health improves" versus "I am grateful for the perfect health flowing through my body right now." The first is weak and uncertain. The second carries conviction and power. The ancient scriptures remind us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This means true faith speaks of future blessings as present realities. This isn't pretending. It's understanding the true nature of spiritual law. Here's a simple template to transform your prayers. Begin with gratitude. State your desire as already fulfilled. Close with continued thankfulness. "Thank you, God, for your constant guidance. I am now experiencing perfect harmony in my relationships. I remain grateful for this blessing." Try this approach for even the smallest matters. Instead of asking God to help you find your keys, state with confidence, "Thank you for revealing to me the location of my keys." Then listen and follow your intuitive promptings. The greatest minds throughout history understood this principle. They didn't beg the universe to deliver their visions. They stated with absolute certainty that what they were creating was already accomplished in the spiritual realm before manifesting in the physical realm, before manifesting in the physical. Remember, the language of faith isn't about the words alone, but the conviction behind them. When you ask correctly, you demonstrate trust in divine order. And in that trust lies the power to transform your prayer life completely. Lesson 5. Expect, don't beg, the attitude of receiving. There exists a profound difference between the person who approaches prayer as a beggar and the one who comes with quiet, confident expectation. This difference is not merely semantic. It is the very key that unlocks the door to effective communication with the divine. Consider for a moment how you might feel if your own children approached you constantly with their hands outstretched, tears streaming down their faces, begging for their basic needs. Would it not break your heart to think they viewed you as so withholding that they believed begging was necessary? The creator of this magnificent universe, who has already provided such abundance, responds not to desperate pleading but to faithful expectation. The most common mistake people make in prayer is adopting a posture of scarcity rather than abundance. When we beg, we unconsciously affirm our belief that what we seek is scarce, difficult to obtain, or might be withheld from us. This creates an immediate barrier between ourselves and the very source we're attempting to connect with. Instead, approach your prayers with the calm expectation of a child who knows their parent delights in providing for them. This isn't arrogance. It's understanding the true nature of divine abundance. The universe is not a place of limitation, but of incredible plenty. There is more than enough for everyone. I discovered years ago that my own prayers transformed when I shifted from asking with uncertainty to giving thanks in advance for what was already on its way to me. This attitude of receiving, rather than pleading, creates a completely different energy around your communication with God. Think of it this way. You don't beg the soil to accept the seed you plant. You simply plant with confidence, knowing that if you've done your part correctly, the natural laws will operate perfectly to produce your harvest. Your prayers function in precisely the same way. Begin practicing gratitude before your prayer has been visibly answered. Say, "Thank you for this blessing that is now coming into my life," rather than "please. Please give me this thing I desperately need." Feel the difference in your body and spirit when you make this shift. When you make this shift, the former fills you with peaceful expectation, the latter with anxious longing. This doesn't mean we pretend to have what we don't. It means we understand the process by which our good comes to us, first in thought, then in manifestation. We're simply acknowledging the invisible stage of creation that precedes the visible. Your certainty dramatically affects outcomes. When you stand before God with absolute confidence in the perfect operation of spiritual law, you align yourself with the very power that brings your desires to fruition. It's like tuning your radio precisely to the station you wish to hear. The broadcast was always there. You simply needed the correct frequency. Begin today shifting your prayer language from "I beg to" "I receive." Notice how differently you feel. Recognize that a loving Creator doesn't require begging, but invites your confident participation in the abundance that already surrounds you. This is not merely positive thinking. This is aligning yourself with the highest spiritual principles that govern our universe. Lesson 6. Listen more than you speak. The forgotten half of prayer. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you today what may be the most overlooked secret in effective prayer. In our eagerness to communicate with God, we've forgotten something vital. Prayer is not a monologue, but a conversation. The average person approaches prayer as if standing before a cosmic vending machine. They insert their requests, push the button of religious practice, and expect their desired outcome to drop neatly into the slot below. But this mechanical approach misses the very essence of divine connection. True prayer is a two-way street. For every word you speak to God, you must create equal space to listen. This is the forgotten half of prayer that transforms ritual into relationship. Consider this. Would you call a dear friend, speak non-stop for 5 minutes about your needs, and then hang up without allowing them to respond? Of course not. Yet this is precisely how most approach the Creator of the universe. The most powerful prayers often occur in the moments after you've finished speaking. In the quietness that follows, divine wisdom has room to enter. But you must train yourself to recognize these responses, which rarely arrive as booming voices from the clouds. God's answers come through subtle impressions, sudden insights, recurring themes, and even the words of others who crush your path. The person who masters the art of spiritual listening gains access to guidance far beyond their own limited understanding. I recommend this simple practice. After speaking your heart to God, remain in that peaceful state and ask, "What would you have me know?" Then wait expectantly, with a mind like a clean slate, ready to receive. Keep a small notebook nearby to record any impressions that come. One remarkable method I've found effective is what I call the journal technique. Each morning, write your questions to God at the top of a blank page. Then, with an open and receptive mind, allow your pen to flow across the paper. You'll be astonished at the wisdom that emerges, insights that clearly didn't originate from your conscious thinking. The tragedy is that most people miss divine guidance because they're too busy formulating their next request. They pray fervently for direction, then immediately fill their minds with worries and distractions, leaving no space for answers to arrive. Developing this receptivity requires practice. Begin by setting aside 5 minutes daily for nothing but listening. No requests, no speaking, just open, expectant awareness. This single habit, maintained consistently, will transform your spiritual life more profoundly than hours of speaking to God without listening. Remember, friends, the quality of your listening determines the quality of your guidance. The greatest spiritual leaders throughout history were not distinguished by their elaborate prayers, but by their extraordinary capacity to receive divine wisdom through disciplined listening. I challenge you today to restore balance to your conversations with God. Speak less, listen more, and watch as your prayers transform from desperate pleas into powerful partnerships with divine intelligence. This is not merely a suggestion. It is the essential foundation of authentic spiritual connection. Lesson 7. Prayer and Action, the Perfect Partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about one of the most misunderstood aspects of prayer, the essential partnership between prayer and action. Many good people make the mistake of treating prayer as if it were a magic wand. They pray for better circumstances, more prosperity, improved health, or stronger relationships, then simply wait for these blessings to appear without lifting a finger of their own. This is not how the universe operates. This is not how God works. Think of prayer as planting a seed. Once planted, that seed needs water, sunlight, and proper care to grow. In the same way, your prayers need to be followed by appropriate action to manifest in your life. God provides the seed, the divine idea, the inspiration, the opportunity, but you must tend the garden. I remember speaking with a young man who prayed earnestly for a better job. Day after day, he asked for new employment that would better support his family. Yet when I asked him what steps he was taking, he admitted he hadn't updated his resume or applied for a single position. His prayer was sincere, but it lacked the corresponding action that would allow it to bear fruit. When you pray, listen carefully for the guidance that follows. The answer to your prayer often comes as a gentle nudge toward specific action. Perhaps a book you feel compelled to read, a person you should contact, or a skill you need to develop. These divinely inspired action steps are not separate from your prayer. They are an integral part of the answer itself. Many people miss their blessings because they're waiting for circumstances to change while God is waiting for them to move. Remember, faith without works is dead. This isn't just religious doctrine. It's a practical principle that determines whether your prayers manifest or remain merely wishful thinking. I've developed what I call the inspired action formula that has served me well. After prayer, sit quietly and ask, what is the very next step I can take toward this goal? Then, and this is crucial, take that step within 24 hours, no matter how small it seems. This creates momentum and demonstrates your commitment to partnering with the divine. Consider the farmer who prays for a harvest. Would he simply wait, expecting crops to appear without planting, watering, or tending his fields? Of course not. He understands that his work is essential to bringing forth what he has prayed for. One of my favorite examples is a woman who prayed for financial stability. Rather than just waiting for money to appear, she felt inspired to take a course on personal finance. This led to her creating a budget, which helped her discover ways to save. Those savings became investments, which eventually grew into the financial security she had initially prayed for. Her prayer was answered not through magical means, but through the partnership of divine guidance and her willing action. Remember, friends, God can do for you what you cannot do for yourself. But God will not do for you what you must do for yourself. Prayer and action. This perfect partnership is the key to seeing your prayers fully answered in your life. Lesson 8. The heart connection, emotional resonance in prayer. Prayer, at its essence, is not merely a verbal exercise, but a profound communion between your innermost self and the infinite intelligence of the universe. Many sincere people fail to experience the true power of prayer because they approach it as an intellectual exercise, devoid of authentic emotional engagement. I've observed through decades of study that the most effective prayers are those charged with genuine feeling. When your heart truly resonates with your words, a remarkable transformation occurs. The universe responds not to the words themselves, but to the emotional vibration accompanying them. Consider for a moment how you might ask a friend for help. You could recite a perfectly constructed request in a flat, disinterested tone, or you could speak with sincere feeling that communicates your authentic need. Which approach would move your friend to action? The same principle applies when communicating with God. The science behind this phenomenon is fascinating. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute have documented that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field far more powerful than that of the brain. When you pray with genuine emotional investment, you literally broadcast a stronger signal into the universe. To infuse your prayers with authentic feeling, begin by visualizing the fulfillment of your prayer as if it has already occurred. Experience the gratitude, joy, and peace that would accompany this manifestation. Allow these emotions to wash over you completely before you utter a single word of prayer. This emotional preparation creates a resonant field that dramatically amplifies your communication. A simple practice I recommend is placing your hand over your heart during prayer. This physical gesture helps redirect your attention from your thinking mind to your feeling heart. Notice how your breathing naturally slows and deepens with this awareness. This state of heart coherence creates the optimal condition for spiritual connection. God, or the infinite intelligence that governs our universe, responds to authenticity above all else. A prayer spoken through tears of genuine emotion will always transcend the most eloquent prayer recited by rote. Your feelings are the language of your soul, and prayer is nothing if not soul. To soul communication. You can measure your progress in this dimension of prayer by the depth of feeling you experience during and after your practice. Are you moved emotionally? Do you feel a sense of peace, regardless of external circumstances? These are the hallmarks of heart-centered prayer. A powerful technique is to specifically name the emotions you wish to cultivate through prayer. Instead of asking for material outcomes alone, include emotional states. I am filled with joyful gratitude as this situation resolves perfectly. Carries far more creative power than a prayer focused solely on circumstantial change. The most profound truth about emotional resonance in prayer is this. When you genuinely feel as if your prayer has already been answered, you have aligned your emotional state with the very reality you seek to create. This alignment is the secret ingredient that transforms ordinary prayers into extraordinary manifestations of divine partnership. Practice engaging your heart fully in prayer, and you'll discover that the quality of your spiritual communication and its tangible results will transform beyond what you previously thought possible. Lesson 9. Persistence without attachment, the delicate balance. In the garden of prayer, there exists a delicate balance that few have mastered, the art of persistence without attachment. Like the steady farmer who plants his seeds and tends his fields daily without digging them up to check their progress, effective prayer requires consistent attention without the desperate need to control the outcome. I've observed that most people approach God in one of two ineffective ways. Either they pray once with great emotion and then abandon their request, or they pray with such anxious repetition that they strangle the very thing they're asking for. Both approaches demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of how prayer works. True prayer power comes through steady, confident persistence. Consider the gentle rain that nourishes the earth. Not the occasional downpour that floods and then disappears, but the consistent precipitation that allows life to flourish. Your prayers should fall upon the soil of your consciousness with this same reliable rhythm. Now, here's the secret that transforms ordinary prayer into extraordinary results. You must maintain this persistence without the burden of attachment. Attachment is that nervous energy that keeps asking, is it working yet? Why hasn't God answered? What am I doing wrong? This anxiety creates resistance in the very channel through which your good must flow. I once knew a businessman who prayed for guidance about a critical decision. He maintained a quiet certainty, praying each morning with gratitude as though his answer had already arrived. He didn't fret or constantly discuss his concern with others. Within 3 weeks, the perfect solution appeared in the most unexpected way. His persistence created the channel. His lack of attachment kept it open. Develop what I call a divine expectancy, the quiet confidence that what you've asked for is already in motion. This is different from the tense waiting we typically experience. Divine expectancy feels like peaceful certainty, allowing you to go about your day with a light heart, knowing that the universe is rearranging itself to accommodate your request. Here's how to practice this balance. Set aside the same time each day for your prayers. Speak clearly about what you're requesting. Then release it completely, not with dismissal, but with trust. Imagine placing your request in God's hands like a letter in the mail. You don't stand at the mailbox. You don't stand at the mailbox wondering if it will arrive. You trust the system and go about your day. If doubt arises, and it will, simply acknowledge it without judgment and gently return to your state of confident expectancy. This mental discipline is the hallmark of effective prayer. The mistake many make is believing that worry demonstrates how much they care, when in fact worry only interferes with the divine process. Remember, the power that created the universe operates with perfect precision. Your role is to align yourself with this power through consistent, confident prayer while maintaining the wisdom to step back and allow the divine timing to unfold naturally. Persist in your prayers, but release your attachment to how and when they will be answered. This delicate balance is the master key to unlocking prayer's greatest potential. Lesson 10. The Bridge Between Worlds. Have you ever stopped to consider that your prayer is a magnificent bridge between worlds? It's true. When you pray, you're not merely sending words into an empty void. You're constructing a living connection between the visible world of physical form and the invisible world of infinite possibility. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of prayer. Many believe prayer is about making requests that travel in one direction only. But I tell you today with absolute certainty that genuine prayer creates a circuit of divine energy that flows both ways. Think of it this way. When you turn on a lamp in your home, you don't wonder if the electricity will come. You simply flip the switch with complete confidence. The current was always there, waiting to be accessed. Prayer works by the same principle. The connection to divine wisdom and power is ever present, requiring only that you complete the circuit through proper prayer. The mistake so many make is treating this bridge as if it were fragile or unreliable. They pray with doubt in their hearts, wondering if their words are even heard. But the bridge between worlds is not made of such flimsy material. It is constructed of the very fabric of creation itself. When a child calls out to their parent, there is no question in their mind that they will be heard. They possess an innocent certainty we would do well to recapture in our spiritual communication. The child doesn't worry about the mechanics of sound waves or whether their voice is worthy of attention. They simply speak with the full expectation of being received. Your prayers create ripples in the spiritual realm that extend far beyond what your physical senses can detect. Each sincere prayer is like a pebble dropped into still water, sending circles of influence outward in all directions. And just as those ripples eventually touch the shore and return toward their source, so too do your prayers complete their journey by returning to you with divine response. Remember this vital truth. You are never separated from the source to which you pray. The perceived distance exists only in your thinking. When you pray with the understanding that you stand on this living bridge between worlds, your communion takes on a new dimension of power and clarity. I've found in my own experience that visualizing this bridge while praying can transform the entire practice. See your words, thoughts, and feelings traveling across this golden connection. Then quiet yourself and watch for the return journey. The subtle impressions, ideas, and peaceful certainty that flow back to you. The bridge between worlds has always been there. It exists independent of your recognition, yet becomes increasingly solid and accessible the more you consciously use it. Prayer is not about building this bridge. It's about remembering it's already there and learning to walk upon it with confidence. Next time you pray, pause first to acknowledge this magnificent connection. Feel the solid footing beneath your spiritual feet. Then step forward in complete assurance, knowing that communication flows freely in both directions across the eternal bridge between worlds. Lesson 11. The silent power of gratitude. Imagine for a moment that you have just received the most magnificent gift anyone could possibly offer. What would be your immediate response? If you're like most people, you would express heartfelt thanks to the giver. Yet when we approach God in prayer, we often rush through our requests without pausing to acknowledge what we've already been given. Friends, gratitude is not just good manners. It is a transformative force that aligns your mind with the abundance of the universe. The practice of thanksgiving in prayer is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of effective communication with the divine. When gratitude becomes the foundation of your prayer life, everything changes. Here's a profound truth I've discovered. Gratitude is the highest frequency of thought you can hold. When you vibrate at the frequency of genuine thankfulness, you create a resonance that attracts more blessings into your life. This is not metaphysical speculation. It's a practical principle that works with mathematical certainty. Consider the farmer who plants his seeds. Does he immediately dig them up the next day to check if they're growing? Of course not. He trusts the process. He gives thanks for the soil, the rain, and the sunshine, knowing that in due season his crop will appear. Your prayers work the same way. Plant them with faith, water them with gratitude, and trust the process. Many people make the critical mistake of approaching God with a sense of lack. I need this, they say. I don't have enough of that. This focus on absence creates more absence. But when you begin your prayers with sincere thanks for what you already possess, you immediately shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. Think about your breathing for a moment. You inhale, and then you exhale. You cannot continue to inhale indefinitely. The rhythm of life requires both receiving and giving. Prayer follows this same natural law. If you're constantly asking without expressing gratitude, you're trying to inhale repeatedly without exhaling. The flow becomes blocked. Start a simple practice today. Before making any request in prayer, pause to count your blessings. Begin with the most basic. Your heartbeat, your breath, the miracle of your mind that can comprehend these words. Then expand outward to your relationships, opportunities, and yes, even your challenges. For in every difficulty lies the seed of equivalent or greater benefit. Gratitude isn't just for what you consider good. The most powerful form of thanksgiving is being grateful for things you don't yet understand. This signals to God and to your subconscious mind that you trust the divine process even when the path seems unclear. Your grateful heart becomes a magnet for miracles, not because you've earned them through your thanks, but because gratitude opens your eyes to see the miracles that were always present. A thankful heart is an attentive heart, and an attentive heart misses nothing. The correct way to talk to God always includes this element of appreciation, not as a formula to manipulate results, but as a genuine recognition of the incredible gift of life itself. Let gratitude become as natural as your breathing, and watch as your prayers transform from desperate pleas to confident conversations with the Creator of the universe. Lesson 12. The journey continues, growing in divine connection. In all my years of study and observation of successful people, I've discovered one unmistakable truth. True achievement is never a destination. It's a continuous journey, and so it is with prayer. The relationship you've been building with God doesn't simply reach a perfect endpoint. Like any profound relationship, it deepens, evolves, and reveals new dimensions over time. Think of the most accomplished musicians, artists, or athletes. Do they ever declare, "I have mastered my craft completely. There is nothing more to learn"? Of course not. The masters are those who maintain a beginner's mind, always discovering new subtleties in their practice. Your prayer life follows this same principle. Remember this. Prayer is not merely a tool to obtain things. It is the very medium through which you experience the divine presence in your daily life. As you continue forward from here, approach each prayer as both familiar and new. Approach each prayer as both familiar and new, a continuation of your ongoing conversation with God. You may find that certain periods in your life call for different forms of prayer. There will be seasons of petition when you actively seek guidance. There will be seasons of thanksgiving when gratitude flows naturally. There will be seasons of quiet listening when few words are needed. Honor these natural rhythms rather than forcing a particular approach. The remarkable thing about truly effective prayer is that it gradually transforms you from the inside out. You'll notice subtle changes in how you perceive challenges. What once seemed like insurmountable problems become opportunities for growth. Your natural reaction to difficulties shifts from fear to curiosity. These are the quiet signs of your deepening connection. I've observed that those who maintain the most vibrant prayer share one essential quality. They approach prayer with the wonder of a child, combined with the commitment of a professional. They never lose their awe of the divine connection, yet they show up daily to nurture it, regardless of how they feel in the moment. As you move forward, resist the temptation to measure your progress by external standards or compare your prayer life to others. The authentic relationship you're building with God is uniquely yours. Its fruits will manifest in ways perfectly suited to your particular journey. Make this your daily decision, to show up, to speak honestly, to listen attentively, and to act accordingly. Some days this will feel effortless, and other days it will require discipline. Both experiences are valuable parts of the journey. You've now gathered the essential principles for effective prayer. You understand the power of your thoughts, the importance of genuine connection, the necessity of quiet listening, the partnership of aligned action, and the balance of persistence without attachment. These fundamentals will serve you throughout your life. The greatest adventure awaiting you is not learning more techniques, but experiencing more deeply the principles you already know. As you continue practicing these fundamentals with sincerity and openness, your capacity for divine connection will naturally expand. This is the promising road ahead, not a search for new methods, but a deepening of authentic presence with the divine.